All right, thank you so much for being here today. We're so excited and happy to do this with you guys, this Valentine's Day exclusive. So we're going to start off with a little game that we had planned.
You guys have these cards in your hand. One side says me in your color, and the other side says him or her.
I'm going to win.
So we're going to ask you questions. We're going to ask you questions, and you have to tell us, who you think. This is an example, like, who's messier? And then you're going to show us.
Wow. This is start off great. Start off great.
That didn't count. Okay.
If it's good, it's me.
That's what he said. All right, ready? The first question. Who made the first move?
Alright, so explain this. How
Wait, he's going to tell you I jumped over pews or something like that.
Well, first of all, can you blame her? She sent her brother on a recognizant mission to find out if I had a girlfriend.
Well, I did. I did do that.
Oh,
yes.
I did do that.
Okay.
I did do that.
Why do you say him?
Because, that's the way things are supposed to be.
So just know she lies. This is the right answer.
All right, second question. Who plans the best date nights? Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're
All
all
in agreement.
Yeah.
All right. Who said I love you first?
Gosh, it's been a long
I don't
time.
remember. I'll probably say me.
I would say him.
Only because she's too ladylike to say she loves me first.
That's how it's supposed to go.
There you go. Exactly.
And I'm too much of a charmer not to be the one who said it first.
Okay. Who is the better dancer?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
All right. Who's the first to apologize?
Wow.
That's definitely me. Not even close. Not even in the same category of closest.
It depends on
me. Very willing to apologize. Her. Stubborn.
He's still talking. He's still talking. I would say it depends on.
No, it doesn't. It's not even close.
I don't even know what it depends
It's not
on.
even close.
It depends on what part, stage of life, what portion of life we were in.
Always. Doesn't matter.
All right, I'll relent.
All right. Next question. Who takes up more than half of the bed?
Cashew. Sometimes we let Cashew in our bed, and that boy takes up space. Other times we're like, no, dog bed for you.
Yeah.
Wait.
Definitely me.
Wait, who takes up? Oh, yes.
It's definitely me because she's always telling me, "You're on my side. You're on my side."
I do say that sometimes.
Okay. Oh, you want it?
Sure. Who does more of the household chores?
Oh.
That one's not even close either.
He helps, though. He does help me.
But I'm very neat. I don't require a lot of cleaning up after. But
That
I'm
is
very
true.
neat.
I'll give him that. That is true.
And I do make my own lunch every day and my own breakfast every day. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And I do have a neater closet than hers.
Oh, my word. What? So we reorganized his closet last week, and I made it neat. I'm the one that did that.
That's good. All right. Who looks the best today?
Oh, wow. All right, come on now.
We still have the pause for a second.
I mean, this is a hard one because I always look good. But, I just have to.
We're being selfless.
This is how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Who has the better hair?
Oh.
I think you do.
No, yours is good. All right, since we're going there.
Okay, and last and final question. Who is the better singer?
Oh. Yeah.
Definitely. She actually, so most people don't know this, when we met in church, she was the primary singer in church. She used to do all of the song specials in church.
I did song specials. I didn't lead worship. I did song specials.
She's actually a really good singer. Like, she could sing in our worship team, no problem. Yeah, but I think since she's kind of out of practice and she's probably just shy now.
I'm a little shy right now.
Yeah.
Perhaps I could.
All right, so now that we kind of had our little fun, we're going to move on to some more serious kinds of topics and questions that people in marriage or people who are about to get married will come into contact with. They'll they're going to experience these things and go through things. And you guys obviously have so many years of wisdom and knowledge on these things. So to start off,
28.
28 years. Wow.
Married, 28 married. We dated for 4 years before we got married.
That's a lot of years.
That is a lot of years. That is a lot of years. Now that I feel super old. Okay. Okay.
So our first question is, what is the best piece of marriage advice you have? And we're gonna ask an answer from both of you guys. So whoever would like to
You can go first.
Best piece of marriage advice. So many pieces of marriage advice, right? I think that one of the best things somebody can do is learn the love language of their spouse. Is that what you were gonna say?
No, I knew you were going to say that.
You need to know that love language.
I knew she was going to say that.
Oh, and here I am. I thought I stole his answer.
No, you didn't steal my answer.
I thought I stole his answer. No. It is very important to learn the love language of your spouse
Yes.
because most people love the way they want to be loved. We have to learn how to love how that person will be most open to receive love. Right?
Yes. And we have very different love languages.
We kind of do, but I think most
Yes.
people do.
Would you like to dive into what they are and how that
Yeah,
is?
hers is words of affirmation.
Mine's are words of
And
affirmation.
mine is?
Probably physical touch and quality time,
I think that's probably true.
right?
And the reason why they're so different is not because they're so different, but because the way that I was raised was that you just say whatever you want to say. So in my house, like, if somebody bothered us, we just say, "Cut it out, you stupid idiot!"
you might wanna cut
we just
that
kind of. No, you don't have to cut it out. Or when we just kind of just said it, and
Words were
for
strong.
us, it just didn't matter because it was just a word that we spoke, and we didn't reflect that we really thought the person was a stupid idiot. We just felt like saying it at that moment, and everybody in the house understood that, it's a big deal type of thing. And then I get married to her, and I try to cut it out, you stupid idiot, and she's crying for days about it. I'm like, but what did I do? I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. And so, yeah, definitely, that's definitely true. My answer is learn to say you're sorry quickly.
I do say I'm sorry. I never got to defend myself earlier. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I really think it's important because, I think in marriage sometimes it can become about wanting to be right. And what happens is that both people kind of dig their heels in and they kind of, feel as though I'm not going to give in to the situation. And then little things become really big things, and it can be solved very simply. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says that we ought to be willing to suffer wrong even when we're right. And by doing so, we're reflecting the character and nature of the Lord. And so for me, when it's something as important as marriage or family or relationships that are really important in people's lives, who cares who's right and who's wrong? The most important things is that there's reconciliation in the situation.
That's awesome. Those
Very
are both
true.
great answers.
And I think there's a meme that says that, something like, it's better to have peace than be right, something like that. That's out there.
Yeah, and then of course the second part of that would be to forgive, right?
Right.
And marriage is like a perfect training ground for the Christian life because you have to humble yourself and say you're sorry, and you have to exercise forgiveness all of the time. And again, the same thing happens in marriage. When you don't forgive, those little things become bigger things, and they wind up becoming walls that cause distance and affect so many other areas of life. And so for me, those are the two most important things.
That's awesome.
And I have
agree.
to say I'm sorry first all of the time.
Negative.
And forgive a lot more than she has to,
Oh
by the
my
way.
word.
Okay, our next question is, tell us a funny story from your marriage, if you both have one. Which I feel like, you should have.
Well,
You know.
we like to do funny in our house. We like silly and we like to have fun. So I would have to dig into Disney experiences.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And since everybody knows that, we love Disney, we're a Disney family, we've enjoyed a lot of vacations there. Well, this guy over here, he doesn't always love the big rides. Not everybody knows that about him, but he doesn't always love the big rides. So sometimes he's willing to sit out while the rest of us go on the big extra fun thrill rides. And so he, at one point when we were there, opted out of a particular ride and told us that he was going to go over to the kiddie section of the park and ride those rides. So we were like, you can't go on the kiddie rides. You're not going to be allowed on the kiddie rides. He's like, I can go on the kiddie rides. It'll be fine. I'm going to go over to the kiddie section. You guys can go on your ride. Meet me over there. So a little bit later, we're walking over to the kiddie section to find Dad, and walking around, looking, no Dad, no Dad. And all of a sudden, we hear Dad.
I remember this.
One of my nicknames that he has given me is Liesel, and he is yelling, Liesel, up here.
I was in the Dumbo ride.
We look up, and he's in the Dumbo ride. He's in this elephant all by himself, waving, Liesel, up here. Me and my kid, we were like, oh boy. And so we look up, we find him there, kids all around him, and he was just having the time of his life on Dumbo. Yep.
I remember that.
Now, where did Liesel come from?
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
Yeah. Sound of Music, one of our movies that we watched early on in our relationship that we enjoyed, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to think about the funniest thing, and the first thing that popped into my mind was actually while we were dating.
Is that allowed? She said married.
Yeah,
We'll
I
let
mean,
it go. We'll
I mean,
let it
there have been funny things all along, but this is the thing that popped into my mind. She was driving. We were in traffic. Was I sleeping?
Yes, he
Yeah,
does
'cause
that.
I fall asleep in the
He
car
does-
immediately.
he
As soon as
does
I go in the
that.
car, I fall asleep.
Which is why sometimes I drive.
She drives. So, and we were, I think, going to New Jersey.
We were,
from
from
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Because everybody knows, I think, that when we were engaged, she lived here in Connecticut and I lived in New Jersey. Because she lived in New Jersey first, we got engaged, and she moved out here. And
All true.
blah, 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 blah.
All
Anyway, so we were driving back, and I think you had just gotten done teaching. And when she taught, she had to wear, a
Had a
dress
dress
most of
code.
the time. There was a dress code and stockings and all that kind of stuff. And so we're kind of in traffic. And the next thing you know, I'm woken up because she hits the car in front. I mean, and we're in traffic where it's like, you're not going fast. So you could see the car in front of you. So how we hit the car in front of us, I have no idea. And so I woke up and I go, what happened? And she made up some type of story, whatever. Well, years later, I find out that what actually happened was she took off her shoe and she smelt her foot. Because the stockings that she had been wearing the whole time. And she was trying to get the shoe back on so she wouldn't wake me up with her feet stinking. And she hit the car in front of us.
Instead of hitting the brake, I put my shoe on. True. I did that.
That's hilarious.
And I married her anyway, even though she had stinky feet.
Well, I didn't tell him about the stinky feet situation until after we got married.
Well, the stinky feet thing was kind of like a thing all throughout our dating. Not because she always had stinky feet.
No,
That's
I did not.
Well, so what would
I
happen
did not,
is...
and I do not.
I worked as a waiter, and we had to wear a tuxedo all the time. And we'd have to, obviously dress socks. And I don't know what it is about dress socks and,
Like the dark color.
And
Something about
stockings,
that
I mean-
dark color.
I guess I should know why stockings make your feet sick. But dress socks do too. And, especially if you're a waiter, you're on your feet the whole time. And so all the time I would bring her home, like desserts. And they were
From
always
the
in like
restaurant.
a brown paper bag. And she would always tell me when I got home and my feet stunk because of the dress socks that were on them. She would always make a big deal about it. So finally I had enough hearing it, and I just took one of the black socks that I had just worn and I put it in the bag and pretended it was dessert.
And it was really late at night, and I was like, oh, what'd you bring me? And I opened it up, there was a sock in there. Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. I thought it was cheese.
So
That's funny. That's so funny. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a turn. This next question is, what was a turning point in your marriage that changed everything for the better?
Not an actual instance, but there were many times that I would notice like effort You know, like when you talk things through and you express like that whole, back to the love languages, you express that whole love language and like, you know, what would be meaningful to me and what would be meaningful to you. And then you see your spouse making those efforts to do that very thing that's meaningful to you. And I can say, I mean, there were countless times that I've seen that, you know. Sometimes people want to stay stuck in their issues, and instead of appreciating effort on the part of our spouse, we go right to like, well, how long is that going to last? And, you know, okay, he's doing this, but, you know, he did that before, you know. And so it has everything to do sometimes with acknowledging effort and keeping your focus where it needs to be, that you want things good, you want things better, you want things peaceful, and you don't want to be that person that just kind of keeps picking.
Yeah. Yeah, turning points, so like to me, that means that things were bad for a period of time, and I don't ever think that we've gone through huge amounts of stretches where we felt as though there was problems. I mean, everybody has problems in marriage, and everybody has times and seasons and so on and so forth. But one of the things about me, which is a little different than hers, I'm not very private. She's very private, I'm not very private. So I'm quick to always reach out to a trusted mentor or something like that and say, hey, you know, we're having a struggle in a particular area, and, you know, I need to be accountable, or we need some advice in this area. And I feel like that gives you the opportunity to correct things quickly. So I think that's helped along the way. But I think that, you know, before when she said love languages, one of the reasons why I laughed is because I think for our marriage to get better and better, I had to realize that even though words, and I know this isn't biblical because biblical words mean a lot, but even though words don't mean much to me, like I really don't care if somebody says that was a great sermon or that was a bad sermon or talks about me, good or bad. It doesn't affect me at all. Words really, you know, and matter of fact, I prefer people who actually tell me off straight to my face than people who talk behind my back. So like words to me don't mean too much, but I know they mean a lot to her. And so I've kind of had to adapt over time to realize that even though I mean nothing by this, I know that if I say something a certain way or just gut reaction, that it may affect her more profoundly than it would affect me. So I've had to learn how to communicate in a way that's not natural for me, just because I know it would minister to her in a better way.
Awesome. Okay. Can you talk about a conflict you experienced and how you reached a resolution? This can be silly or serious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've gone first, so you go first this time.
So silly one is, what happens I think a lot of times is that each spouse does certain things that they don't realize they do on a regular basis, but the other spouse knows that they do. And one of the things that she does that she doesn't, I think, recognize that she does is
I'm scared. I'm
no matter
so scared.
which drawer or door she has opened, she leaves it open. And so she can go into the kitchen and it'll look like we just got robbed. I mean, every door will be wide open, and I'm like, what's going on, you know, here? And so the reason why she doesn't know that, although I do say it sometimes, is because now I just shut them. Instead of just saying, hey, why'd you leave every door open, type of thing, I just shut them. So every day I shut, usually I did 20 to 30 drawers or doors around the house. Just this morning when I was leaving the house, she had let the dog out our bedroom door, and I'm leaving, she's already gone. If I didn't check the door, our bedroom door would have been cracked open, the wind could have blew it open, we could have been robbed. But, you know, sure enough, I checked it, shut it, locked it. I wouldn't have said nothing if it wasn't for this moment right now, but yeah, you left the door open again.
Well, so I can't really speak to the door being left open this morning because that's not okay. That's not good. But normally, the reason why the drawers are open is I'm using them. I never leave a room when I'm done in the room with drawers open. He leaves every light on in the house. Every light on in the house. He goes to work and I go around and turn off all the lights.
Yeah. So, like we said, most people don't realize the things that they do, and sometimes
Yeah, I don't tell them either.
Yeah.
I stay nice and quiet. I just turn off the lights.
I think the point that we're trying to make is I think there are certain things that if it's just kind of like a thing that your spouse does, you could make it into a big thing by getting mad about it or
Right.
constantly bringing it to attention, or you could just shut the cabinet doors and
Right.
shut the lights and just kind of keep it moving. And sometimes we don't realize how big those little things can be.
Right.
Because they can become things that you fixate on, and again, it spills over into other things when it's not worth the time and the effort or the aggravation and the hurt feelings and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of take care of the little things and do it. Put the toilet seat down, fix the toothpaste however you like it, all of those kind of things. Just do them.
That's great. So our last question that we have, that you guys have, is what do you see as the best way to balance ministry, marriage, and kids?
So for me, I always felt really strongly about my family coming before ministry. And I think that a lot of people in ministry cannot make that separation between the two because they think ministry is their relationship with God, but it's not.
Right.
Right? Your relationship with God obviously has to be first, and that is actually serves your family well because when your relationship with God is first, you're better equipped to minister and serve your family. But when it comes to ministry, one of the things that I didn't want is I didn't want my kids to resent ministry because I was never around. And so what I kind of learned to do, especially early on when I didn't have as many staff as we have now and all that kind of stuff, is I did ministry in off hours, meaning, sermon preparation after everybody went to bed, before everybody got up in the morning, that kind of stuff, so that I could make sure that I was present when I needed to be present, and so on and so forth. The other things, though, is just find people that you can delegate things to, and kind of setting the tone for, you don't have to be at every ministry event. It's kind of like the Moses principle. The big things, when you're a senior pastor, you need to be involved in, but you need to be involved in everything. You need to trust people to do the things that they're gifted to do, whether they're staff people or volunteers. Early on, I still felt the same way. We didn't have a lot of staff, but there were certain people that were gifted to do things. And I always tell people, the people that God calls to be part of the team have the same Holy Spirit that I do. So they're going to give you, if they're gifted in that area, as good of counsel, as good of advice, help, whatever it may be, as I can do, and sometimes even better because they might be gifted in that area and I'm not. So I think the way that you kind of delegate it is first you have to, or the way that you kind of handle it is first you have to have a good sense of godly priorities. So it's God first, it's family second, it's ministry third, and that order is important. And somewhere in family, husband's at the top of the list, though, just remember that. And then the second thing is you just have to be willing to let other people do what they're gifted to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you also be able to talk on the kind of ranking, for lack of a better term, between marriage and also kids, the dynamic of what you believe to be the correct order?
So clearly spouse comes before children. And here's the thing is, I think everybody knows that, but practically sometimes it doesn't play out like that.
Right.
And the reason why practically sometimes it doesn't play out like that is because, especially when kids are little, they have needs that they need met by their parents. And so you can't just say to a child who's waiting for dinner, I haven't had any time to spend with mom or spend with dad now, so you have to wait another hour, Meanwhile, they've got to get their homework done, they've got to get a bath and all of that kind of stuff. And so practically, that doesn't always work out like that. So I think, first of all, there has to be some understanding and give and take that sometimes it's just life. It's not that one spouse is not trying to put the other spouse first, but it's just that they can't do it by themselves, so I need to be there for them. However, I think the thing that has to happen is that can't become an excuse not to give quality time to your spouse. So if that happens, you have to then prioritize some other type of way, whether it's date night, where you get a babysitter so that you can go out together well, whether it's a schedule that you have for your kids where, when our kids were younger, our kids were in bed by like what time?
Like 7 when they were small.
Yeah. And so, because they were in bed early, that gave us, time to connect and spend time together and all that kind of stuff. So I think there has to be understanding, but it's definitely, spouse before children. And there are all sorts of practical ways that plays out, but that's the way it is.
Pastor Lisa, what would your input be on between the balance of ministry, marriage, and kids, and everything that we've been talking about?
Right. So obviously, I agree wholeheartedly with the ranking of things, as you said.
What position am I?
I think that
Say it.
I think that when, personally speaking, when my kids were growing up, not only did my husband try and show them, that he was obviously present and do things that would help with that, that him connecting with them and everything. I think that my words were also very important in that area. I never complained if he wasn't home. I always told my kids, aren't we so blessed that you have a daddy that can go and help people? So like if he got like that, phone call at dinner time, that somebody needed him in the church and he had to go, rather than me say like, I can't believe he had to leave again, and da-da-da-da-da. I would say like, wow, we're really blessed that we have a daddy who, can go and help people and go and bless people. Thank God that, you guys are, and I used to always tell them that they're called to our family. They were called, God chose them to be our children. So that means they're part of the whole big picture of things, I also tried to instill in them that, they were here at the church to serve, even though that they were little, you know what I mean? That they came in blessed to be a blessing, not to feel entitled in any way, shape, or form, but understand their place in the fact that, they were part of ministry even back then, even as small children, you know what I mean? Maybe it wasn't full-time ministry, but it was their little ministry for little people,
Mm-hmm. And I think when those things are all possible because you have to have confidence in your spouse and their commitment to your family, right? So I think it would be easy for her to say those things because I was doing my part to let them know how important they were and vice versa, right? And I think what happens a lot of times is that you have to kind of muscle up and say the words, but maybe don't mean them, and it becomes harder to say those things. So I think it's important for both people to, do what they need to do in order to show their family that this is genuinely true, because she could say it all she wants. If it wasn't true, the kids are eventually going to get to an age where they're like, that's just mom trying to cover for dad type of thing.
Right.
Eventually, they've got to see that the words and the actions line up with one another so that it doesn't have a negative effect on them.
Right.
That's really good. So, thank you guys for divulging.
Well, thanks
all
for
of
having us.
We do have one more surprise question.
Oh boy.
When you think of each other, what is the first thing that comes to mind? The first thing that comes to your mind when you guys look at each other or think of each other?
Oh, I don't know if my answer is a good one.
Handsome.
What's the first thing
Great.
that comes out? And then we can always cut it.
The first thing that came out for me was the perfect wife for me.
Oh, wow. I think you put some thought into that.
I didn't.
No, you guys, guess what I thought when you said the first thing that I think of when I think of him?
What?
I thought of Netflix.
Netflix! I mean,
Because
with all of these amazing qualities, he thinks of Netflix. I mean,
I thought of Netflix.
I'm taking my answer back.
because there's a certain expectation of like, like when he comes home, and lately we've been watching a show, and so when he comes home we watch Netflix. That's such a bad answer.
Quality time together.
There you go.
Right.
Time spent together.
Look at that. Exactly.
I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel appreciative. Grateful.
I don't know if I love that answer.
Do you like Netflix? How about Netflix?
All right, well, to close today, I guess we'll do some more questions from our game earlier. So Who is better with the finances?
That's easy. That was an easy question. There will be no debate.
That's an unfair question. I was a CPA, you know, that's kind of an unfair question.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Right. That's the reason.
All right. Who is the first one to diffuse an argument?
I want to say her. Yeah.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
She's the first one to diffuse, but not the first one to say she's sorry. But she's definitely the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have some. Okay. Who is more likely to be running late?
Oh.
Who is more likely to be in control of the remote?
Oh.
TV.
Oh.
Netflix.
Really?
when
You
you're
think that's kind of really? You think
Oh, I don't know. I feel like it depends on the day.
Really?
Depends on
when
the day.
we're together, you feel like
I usually turn on the Netflix.
okay?
All right, fine.
I'm not trying to convince you.
No, I didn't feel like that at all. I didn't feel that way at all. If we're channel surfing, I guess, yeah. Okay.
Who has a shorter attention span?
You know what? I just think so deeply. Like, can I say it depends? All right, so like if I'm telling him a story, yeah.
Her and the woman with the issue of blood have a lot in common.
What?
She told Jesus the whole truth.
Let's see. Who's more likely to ask for directions? I don't know if that's like applicable.
Yeah, it is. It is me. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
it kind of is. It
Yeah.
kind of is.
Okay. Who's a better driver?
Oh, come on.
If you hadn't told the story earlier.
Except for that one time.
She's a front seat driver, you know, and the other thing she does is she wiggles the wheel when she drives. So you never get a smooth drive when she drives, just like this the whole time, you know, type of thing. And she says that I tailgate, which is probably
It's
true.
so scary.
And
It's
she
such a
gets-
scary
gets nervous,
experience.
yeah.
I tell them all the
Yeah,
time,
you
you
know.
need to keep your passengers at
Yeah,
peace.
Yeah.
Ah.
Who has better handwriting?
Oh,
I'd probably say she does.
but he has nice handwriting. You have nice
Yeah,
handwriting.
I do.
He does.
But you probably have
Okay.
better than me.
Okay. I'll do
Last
one more. Last one. Who is more likely to talk their way out of a speeding ticket?
Why?
You're not more likely to talk your way out of it because, you know, the reason why I said that is because, like, she doesn't ever like to really argue about anything.
Right, I'm not as
She-
confrontational.
Yeah, I'm
that's
much more
true.
confrontational, so that's why I said that.
Yeah, in that regard,
Yeah,
can
thanks.
we rephrase the
You know, I mean,
question,
you know.
please? Who's more inclined to get out of a
Well,
speeding
that's
ticket?
just women are much more. If it was a woman cop, it would be me.
Maybe.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you guys.
You're
This was
welcome.
fun.
You're
This is great. Okay.